So customer discovery interviews are very important in the Lean Startup methodology. We've gone into great detail about how to prepare for, conduct, and then interpret the data that comes from these interviews. And now you're going to report in this assignment how you have followed this process. And this report is only one single space page. If you're working with a partner, you should have twice as many interviews as shown here. So there's 4 sections to this report. So there's hypotheses, customer development results, and then insights. So in the hypotheses, you should detail your value proposition hypotheses. Basically, you're going to say for value proposition 1, at least 20% will be a pass on my value proposition 1 hypothesis, and so forth for each value proposition hypothesis. So you should have a statement for each one, what percentage will be a pass in your interviews. And then you're going to have some other hypotheses, either customer segment hypotheses or customer relationship hypotheses. So for a customer segment hypothesis, you'd say that customer segment A, let's say students will be Y percentage, let's say 20% more likely than non-students to pass on value proposition hypothesis 1. You could have different percentages for each value proposition. And alternatively, you could do customer relationship hypotheses that are related to how you're going to get customers. You could say Instagram, which would be one approach for customer relationships, will be 20% more effective than Facebook ads, for example. Those are your hypotheses. That's what you thought would happen before you went out and did anything. So this is just like a lab. You create hypotheses, then you go out and do stuff. So in your second section, you're going to explain how you followed the process, what you did, who you talked to, and you're going to show a few photos. Now this is just one page. You don't have very much space, so you've got to conserve this. So I want you to report how many people you talked to, why them, show some pictures, give 2 examples of questions you asked, and then 2 most insightful responses. And these should be quotations, and then you should explain how you coded these passes or fails. You need to have numbers here, as you can see here in the bottom. In the rubric, you need to explain how many interviews you did, how many were face-to-face, if you did face-to-face and survey, why those people. You need to explain what constitutes a pass or fail. Ideally, you should have more than 20, but at least 20, and quotes are really helpful. Then, once you report what you did, then you move on to your results. So this is a little quantitative summary table, as I've shown in videos in class, and you're going to show both customer segment information and value proposition as I've shown in class. So you need to fill out that table, and it needs to all make sense. And then finally, the insights. Now, for insights, I want you to say exactly what you learned about the business model, not about just the process or about how it's important to talk to people, like specifically with numbers, using percentages to show insights. So compare percentages that you measured from your actions with what you said would happen, and then try to learn something from that. And then finally, this should all be skimmable. So here's an example. I give you an example here that you can see. He gives the value proposition and customer segment hypotheses. He shows a picture of him interviewing, how many interviews he did, how much time he spent. You should indicate that. Why them, the questions he asked, examples of responses that he got, and how they corresponded to passes or fails. And then he did the table that I've shown you how to do, highlighting the things that he thought were important, and then he explains that here with numbers, with percentages, some insights, and then any changes that he thinks are needed for the BMC. So that's the report. I hope that it will be really helpful for you to gain insights.